China has reported its highest number of new coronavirus cases in almost 6 weeks. Authorities say 108 people were infected over the past day, mostly travellers returning from abroad. While that number is low, it's adding to concerns of a possible second wave of cases. Sarah Clark joins us now live from Hong Kong. So quite a rise in the number of cases. Does this start to draw some proof to the fears of, well, a second wave?
Well, certainly this is the concern that China has. We're looking at the second wave of infection, particularly where this area is, or the cluster of the 108 cases. It's in the northeast of China, in a province called Heilongjiang. And most of these cases came from that particular city. And as a result, we've had tough new measures put in place in the capital of that particular province, known as Harbin. Stay-at-home measures, people being told to stay indoors, as well as a city that borders Russia. Now, all of these travellers, or most of these travellers in this latest cluster of the infections, were coming back over the border from Russia back into mainland China. Now, as a result, all gatherings have been banned, train services have been stopped, and the health checks will now be mandatory for all people coming in from Russia. Now, this is a mandatory coronavirus testing, as well as a 28-day quarantine as a result. Now, as you mentioned, 108 new cases, that's up from 99, but this is where the new battleground is, or certainly the northeast of China is where the government authorities will be targeting. Now, we have been seeing a downward trend of the coronavirus infections in China, and some would suggest it's in a recovery mode, but there have been questions about the calculations and the accuracy, as well as the accounting methods being used on the figures coming out of China. The World Health Organization applauded China's efforts to detect the coronavirus outbreak early, but other countries like the UK and the US have questioned the figures. Donald Trump questioned whether or not the death tally was actually on the light side. Now, looking at the current figures at the moment, the death tally is 3,343, and the cases of the coronavirus infection in China is 83,134 cases. So that's certainly low when you compare it to the likes of the United States and Europe.
Now, the issue of the treatment of Africans in China causing some new diplomatic sparks to fly, right?
Yeah, we saw a number of reports on social media over the weekend from members of the African community living in the city of Guangzhou. This is in the south of China. And their claims were of mistreatment, being evicted from their homes, also being denied access to restaurants and hotels. And we had some students saying they were being denied food and now living on the streets. And their suggestion is that they're now being targeted, and they're a community of suspicion, and they're being accused of spreading the virus in Guangzhou. Now, background to this, the African community in Guangzhou came under scrutiny after there were claims that a number of them ignored some quarantine restrictions in that city. And on Thursday last week, we had 114 new cases confirmed of the coronavirus in Guangzhou, and 16 were Africans, and a group of them were Nigerians linked to a particular restaurant. Now, several African nations have now responded to these claims of mistreatment. That's the likes of Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya and Zimbabwe, and they've demanded China act on these claims. Now, on Monday, we've had a response from China. They've said they've denied the mistreatment. They said basically there's been no discrimination against their African brothers, and they said they have a zero tolerance for racial discrimination against the African community in that city. Now, this statement was made by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was also backed up by the Mayor of Guangzhou on Monday.
All right, Sarah Clark there. Thanks so much.